Well, my guest today is a very soft spoken gentleman. He's young, talented, and also a lot of hardworking, I would say. Very not very easy to get hold of him, to catch up with him, or because and that's not him being too proud or arrogant. It's just that he's caught up with different things. He runs a club called the Community Club of India (CFCI), Community Football Club of India, and if you are part of Mumbai football, you definitely know this man. And if you don't, it's a shame. But we have got it covered for you because this episode we have none other than Siddharth Sabapathy. And you're listening to the Totally Indian Football Show with me, your host, Siju. Siddharth, thank you so much. I think we are doing this in a time where he's back from Bangalore. He also has commitments with volleyball, not just football. He's part of the Ahmedabad Defenders team. Thank you so much for taking time out. And this was long due, right? I think we've caught up many times. We've been friends for some time now. But for me, it's really a joy to get someone like you on the show because you've done really good work on the ground level. So thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you, Siju, for inviting me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope that the viewers and everyone who listens to this podcast will be able to find some value out of the conversation that we have. And again, once again, I think you gave a really exaggerated, I would say, introduction about me, but I am thankful for that. And once again, happy to be on this podcast. Thank you.
Now, just you being modest here, but let's get to the conversation, right? How did the journey of sports or football specifically start for you, and how did it all begin?
So, if I had to answer that question, probably I'll have to go 10 years back during my college days. I was playing football just for recreation, not any aims or ambition of taking it professionally. Me and my friends is playing in the MFA second division, and we kind of realized that there isn't enough in terms of talent identification and a pathway for talent progression at the grassroots level. So we found that to be a structural problem. Somewhere we wanted a solution to it, albeit I would say more selfishly because we also wanted to kind of progress and grow in the field of this. I mean, in football. So I and my friend or my colleague right now in my office, my co-founder in my company, we just discussed an idea. We thought we'll start a football league, and we were staying in this suburb of Mumbai called Velepale. And that's where we thought, okay, we'll start a league for football, and we started a league called Velepale Premier League. The idea was to get everyone together as a community and create a football based community. So we got some owners on board, we registered players, we did an auction, things like that. And it was fictional points that we sold players on. And we did it for the under 21 category. That was basically the age group that we belonged to at that time. And that league kind of picked up really well. And we saw a lot of people get involved into the league. A lot of the players who are playing currently for the likes of Renia Fernandez and a lot of
Yeah.
the other players who played that league at that time. And that's how we got into the sport. And that's how I particularly got into the sport. And I mean, alongside playing, then I realized that there is a lot more things that I can do on a management level, a lot more value adds I can create. And from one thing led to another, from running the league, I ended up studying sports management. Then I started to work for a sports company, came back, and I thought that probably I can start something on my own. And that led to the creation of an academy and to whatever I'm doing right now. So, I mean, to say and answer that question in terms of how I started, everything started with that league, the Vile Pale Premier League, and at a community level. So it has some really interesting and amazing stories. But again, that's how it shaped me as an individual as I progressed into this.
Yeah. I think that's one thing I missed out on mentioning in the intro, but Ville Parle League is something that really picked on well, as you mentioned. And you were what, barely 19, 20,
Yeah, we started. I was 18, but
18,
yeah,
right?
it's been around that
So
age.
you want to play, you were playing, and you were like, "Arey, kuch hai nahi structured for that age category," and you want to do this. But it's not, I don't think it was that easy, right? You saw ki structure nahi hai, like, okay, let's just start something, a league. Because to start a league, like you mentioned, that you had sponsors, you had people coming on board, you had auction of players. How did you just create all this on paper before actually taking it on
I
ground?
mean, we didn't plan all of those things at one go. It just happened one by one after another. I could say probably when we started it, the idea was just to create something which has some sort of visibility.
Yeah.
At least people come and watch it. Maybe we kind of create some sort of video content or digital content through it and share it across to people, so that many clubs and everyone else knows that we also play football. That was the
Right.
only intention behind starting the league. Also for the fact that we wanted everyone to look cool in jerseys and put some lights on and things like that. But other than that, the idea was for us to get more visible. But I would say that we got some brilliant support from people all around the community of Ville Parle. They were very, very supportive. We got a lot of people involved into the sport, and everyone then wanted to add value to the game. So somebody said, I can get sponsorship. Somebody said, you know what, I can get better owners. Somebody said, you know what, we can make this even more better. And more ideas led to the league becoming more and more organized, more and more structured. And that's how we were able to do it. And one big thing about the league was it involved a lot of youngsters who were actually in their colleges who actually volunteered to do work. So we had a lot of volunteers who actually came in. It was heartening to see because they weren't there for the money, or they weren't there for
Yeah.
the they were there solely for the passion of the game. And they actually contributed a lot to the league growing. So we had a group of around 15 to 20 people who used to get together every year in the month of May. And then we used to create something like this league, and it was really exciting for everyone. Look forward to it every year.
Right. Now, coming to the fact that this league grew, right, popularity wise, and this thing, and I think it's a great example for community driven something, right? And Mumbai football, now when we look at it, yes, there's Mumbai City at this point, and there's always been a Kinkre and the other clubs, but there's been like a gap. And we see the history if you really dig down. But I think kids nowadays don't know, or maybe are not aware of the fact that Mumbai had like a legacy of football in the heart of the city with the Rovers Cup, with the big names and clubs coming down and playing here. Cooperage used to be sold out, and somewhere we still struggle to kind of fill out a Mumbai football in at times, right? Uh, how do you see what changed? Because you are someone who've been there in this side of the generation, right? Where you probably can see what has happened or what didn't happen. And if we have something like a Ville Parle League, the success of that, where people coming out and saying, why can't Mumbai probably adopt something that way all across the city? Because it's a huge, huge city, and you really cannot, one club cannot really contain the whole mammoth that the city is. So, what do you have seen those changes, and what do you make of where are we right now?
I mean, it's I would say, to answer that question, probably one has to realize that if you really want to create some sort of a relevance or a fan following for a particular club, they need to kind of relate to an area or a locality or something like that.
Right.
Unfortunately, our structure doesn't really have clubs with names which people or players or fans can relate to.
Yeah.
Unlike if you see in the European football structure or anywhere else across the world for that matter, they've got club names after a location or after a geographical area,
Right.
basically. So it becomes very easy for the people around there to have some sort of relevance. You can create a derby, a rivalry between two clubs. All these are a possibility.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in our structure, it's not a possibility because of the fact that the clubs are named after mostly people or just like random names.
Hmm.
I think that may change in the years to come. We are seeing a small sort of change towards that with the new set of owners coming in, or the new generation of owners who are coming in,
Hmm.
who are particularly more focused towards creating like a brand more so than just a club. So I think that may change. Once that changes, probably we will see like more people getting involved in the sport. uh, I mean, even for example, say Mumbai City is there. Yes, before we had more clubs in Maharashtra. Like
Yeah.
we had the few clubs in Pune. Now there are not many clubs
Yeah.
left. So at the end of the day, people are not able to relate to clubs. You can't
Right.
really have clubs named after people, is what I personally feel. And I don't want to quote examples as such, but there are many prevalent right now in the association as well, which are named after a certain
Hmm.
individual or a certain entity. So it becomes very difficult for people to follow it, and they can't really garner such sort of a fan following. So I think particularly if football has to grow as a sport, then it really needs to create those sort of rivalry matches. Like for example, Andheri versus Ville Parle would be a
Yeah.
good derby to watch, or a Kandivali Borivali, or maybe somewhere in Navi Mumbai will have say a Vashi versus Sanpada would be
Hmm.
something exciting. So something like that creates sort of a an excitement for the people to go and look forward to. And also it should really create some sort of interest in the younger generation. They would want to represent their locality or their generation,
Yeah.
sorry, or their club for that matter. So that really matters. That's what I personally feel.
When you started speaking about the fact that how you kind of led to what led you to Ville Parle League, you mentioned about the talent identification and the fact that there's enough potential, but there's nobody actually going out there and spotting these guys and
Hmm.
then bringing them up to a structured pathway. Do you think, again, I think maybe similar question I'm asking you, uh, but as you mentioned right now, for a Vashi to play a Sanpada or a Borivali versus even a town, like you
Hmm.
have the South Bombay and the suburbs. do you think a local league like a Ville Parle can be born in every part of the thing, and is
Sure.
how difficult or challenging is that? Maybe some MFA can do it, or I know there's a lot that they are already doing,
Correct.
but how of a what a big task would that be? I mean, how do you see that?
I mean, it can be done. It completely depends on individuals who reside in that area and how much are they kind of having the passion for the game. So, for example, if they are really, really fueled by the passion for the game, they may want to start something like we did in our area.
Hmm.
And then you can, of course, invite players from the other localities also to come and play. And there is already a Borivali league going on.
Yeah,
There is a league in Bandra which is going on. So, multiple areas have actually kind of you could say emulated or recreated a similar league to the Vilepale league. There's a league in Kalina going on, a league
yeah,
in Wakola going on. So there are multiple leagues happening. It's just that they are not aligned with each other in a way that would make it more humongous in terms of its structure. So right now, I mean, though the leagues are happening, they aren't really connected as
right.
such. So once that connection kind of occurs, it will be more better for the sport. And also in terms to answer the question for talent progression pathway, it becomes more easier because obviously if all of them are aligned, we can create data points from that.
Yeah,
We can create statistics in terms of the top goal scorers or the top assists or
yeah,
things like that, and then those data points can be then shared to clubs that are playing in the elite division or in
yeah,
the senior most top tier of Mumbai football.
yeah. You mentioned that there were many stories that birthed from Ville Parle League and as it progressed, whether it's Rainier playing or the other players. If you can just share some anecdotes, something that you even till today you'll always remember, that something that happened, any kind of stories that you can take us through.
Sure. I mean, for one of our finals, probably in the fifth or the sixth year, we had close to around 1,500 to 1,800 people who had come in to watch a community-based league, which was kind of unheard of for us.
Wow.
I mean, that's the kind of crowd which normally a professional league or maybe somewhere a semi-professional league, which kind of caters to amateur or professional athletes, sometimes get that crowd
Yeah.
for a non-cricket sport once in a while. So for us to get a crowd around 1,500 to 1,800, to get sponsorship from the likes of Saraswat Bank, Gatorade, Idea,
Hmm.
these kind of brands kind of believing in us was something really huge. We never thought that the potential for grassroots sport will be this much,
Yeah.
and also the consumption for grassroots sport will be that much in terms of the local people coming in and watching the game. We never
And
believed that
which
to
year
happen.
was this?
This was in the year 2015, 14 rather, and that's when this happened. And we started in 2010,
Yeah.
so slowly and steadily it progressed. One of the other things was this interesting story which I'll share is about in the second season. Bapi Leri had come to watch our finals, and it was the halftime. And the score was 0-0 between both the teams. It was a closely contested game. And from our side, we had kept a prize money of 25,000 for the winners. And Bapi Leri then announced, and it's a seven-a-side league, the
Hmm.
Vilepali league, that used to happen. So Bapi Leri announced that, this game is getting really boring and it's not
Hmm.
really creating that sort of a buzz for the crowd that has come in to watch the game. So he said, from my side, I'm ready to give 50,000 to the winners. So the teams that had actually gone onto the field, they came back, they huddled up, and they kind of then started to discuss plans on how they want to do it. And the score ended up like 4-1 or something. The second half saw like 5 goals.
Hmm.
And because obviously it played a big role, and that created like a crazy buzz because all of a sudden the prize money catapulted to 75,000, which was like
Yeah.
a crazy amount, and everyone became like too happy about it. Mumbai Mirror covered it the next day. All of this happened in 2011, and it was really, really cool. And I mean, it was a great gesture from him, but at the same time, it also created enormous buzz among
Yeah.
people. So next year, everyone started to say that, you know what, 25,000 isn't a motivational prize money offering. Can we increase it? We are ready to put in some money or
Hmm.
things like that. And then we increased it slowly, the purse to 50 and then 75 and then 1 lakh towards the last 2 3 years. So it was crazy motivation for a lot of young players.
Right.
And the league used to be an under 21 league. So what we also somewhere solved was this big problem that is always there prevalent in our structure, is the fact that the school football level is kind of structured well, but then there is nothing that happens at the college level. So from
Yeah.
school you directly just join a club and that's about
Yeah.
that. So we kind of catered to this under 21 category. The idea was to give them more matches, ensure that there is a proper progression pathway from school to an elite structure. So that helped. I mean, we just gave them a platform. At the end of the day, it was their hard work. But at the end of the day, for us, the idea was to give them a platform and visibility. That's
Right.
what we did.
Well, thanks to the late Bappida over there, he not only made waves in the music industry, but that's one thing he did
Yeah,
for football in Mumbai in some way or
absolutely.
the other, right? For it to grow. Uh, Coming to how did you come to CFCI and how did Sportco come into being? You mentioned that you've also done sports management course. So was that something that began from there, or how did that?
I mean, I wasn't really planning to do sports management. For me, it was about just working in sports was a huge thing, and I was just learning by working and getting experience. Whilst doing that, I connected to certain people, and then I got this wonderful opportunity to the German consulate to study in Leipzig about sports management. That was a great opportunity, and I'm thankful to both ITK as well as the German consulate for this opportunity. After coming back from the course, I was planning to rejoin the company that I was working for before going to Germany. Then I realized, might as well there is a potential for me to start something on my own. I was obviously very apprehensive because I don't really belong to a business kind of a family, and I discussed with my friend who was part of who was with me during when I started Delhi, and we both had a conversation about should we do this because we really feel that there is a potential to start something, and not just that, we actually wanted to kind of create a better structure because the league was there, but we wanted to create something for the younger generation,
Yeah.
like the upcoming footballers. So then we said, okay, let's start an academy because there was this turf which was nearby, which we realized that there isn't training happening there. And one thing led to another. From training at one turf, then we went to a school, then we started to train a school, then we kind of multiplied academies. We already had teams in the second and the third division of the MFA. We actually then helped them to progress, and then that's how we started to create like a structure.
Right. And at this point, I think the biggest news from this year, I think even you probably would consider as a personal big win is, I mean, someone from being Mumbai football, I consider as a big win. Uh, Sreenidi FC has a partnership now with CFCI, and it is a great news. I think I was like, why is there no more buzz around it? I know I just saw happened to see it, but the reason I say why is the big win is Sreenidhi. I know them. I know the fact that we've had their technical director on the show as well, and I have a good friend as a media manager in Tanai. Um, they're doing some good work in the
Absolutely.
ground level, right? It's one thing to have money, and another thing is how do you use that resources to put in there. And they have their own facility in Hyderabad. They're
Correct.
definitely giving the run for the money for the ISL side there. Um, how did that partnership come by? And if you can take us to something behind the scenes, how did it all develop?
So I think one of the reasons why that partnership happened is because of one of our senior coaches, Maitreya. He was doing his A license with Fabio, who is
Okay.
and they had a discussion, and somewhere they aligned the fact that, what, our players here need more opportunity. Obviously, we've been kind of you can say actually giving or feeding a lot of players to Mumbai City.
Yes.
At the same time, we felt that our players need more opportunity to showcase their talent and
Yeah.
get an opportunity. So they had a discussion, and Fabio felt this is a good opportunity for both of us. And then we had a discussion. We aligned ourselves on the goals or the objectives that we would want to plan as a club, and that's how we did it. It's basically a talent scouting partnership where Srinidhi will come to Mumbai, try to choose players, or we will have send our players for a camp to
Right.
the Hyderabad facility, and then they can train with their coaches for a week or so. They can actually, help them become better.
Yeah.
If they feel they're already good, they may probably absorb them into their own structure. So it's a win-win situation for both of us, for us especially, because it's a great opportunity for our players to kind of progress, and that's what we want as a club, as an academy, because we want more and more players from our team to go and progress and represent better clubs,
Yeah.
larger clubs with a better structure. uh, and that's how it happened, and we think it can really help our team, and not just our team. Probably we are also ready to help out other teams as well if they want to kind of use this ladder system to feed players to Srinidhi. Not just Srinidhi, but just the fact that they will give their players a better
Yeah.
opportunity to
Yeah.
progress.
And when this partnership was developed and you were talking about it, Fabio was here in town, what was the response from the parents like? I'm sure because you also have different age categories. You have kids and their
Correct.
parents. Suddenly now I also see the buzz among the young ones and their parents coming to the stadium, watching the matches. Like, you see a Mumbai City match.
True.
I think for people like you and me, it's overwhelming to see. For outside was it's like, अरे अभी भी stadium भर नहीं रहा है. But now the whole point brings a smile to our face is the young kids coming with their parents and they're
Correct.
discussing, they're talking. I'm sure even you had stories. So what was the response from the parents like, and how positive are they about this development?
So primarily the Srinidhi partnership focused on the under 13s, the under 15s, somewhere the under 17s. But ideally, the under 13 and under 15 is like this age where the parents are very apprehensive about what's going to be the actual future for
Yeah.
the player. Till around under 11, it's all fun and games and they're okay, the kids
Yeah.
having fun. But then under 13, when the player actually tells his parents or kind of discloses to his parent that he wants to make a career in the sport, that's when they start really asking questions. They felt that, this partnership on board is a good thing, because if in case they want to support their child in terms of making, a career in football, then they felt that this partnership will play a pivotal role or a big role in actually helping their child, kind of achieve their own his or her ambition.
Hmm.
So they felt that that is a brilliant thing for them, and also at the same time they were happy that we are actually exploring more opportunities for the children, because we could easily be a club that's shut, just happy with what we are doing, but we are not with that mindset. For
Yeah.
us, it's all about ensuring that our players get the next step or the next ladder in their progression. So the parents also know that, for a fact that, till the time they can't achieve their next progression, we are there to kind of support and help them in their journey. But once they become better and better and better, and then they maybe represent Mumbai or Maharashtra, then of course we want them to get better opportunities. That may sound as very, selfless in terms of not focusing on our own club, but then at the end of the day, till the time we are not there in the I League or the ISL or in the
Yeah.
top tier, for us it's a very natural thing to do, is about creating players and feeding them
Yeah.
to better clubs who have
Yeah.
a better structure. There's
I think
no
that's also a bit more sustaining
sustainable. Yes,
model in Indian football
correct,
rather. Coming to the whole Mumbai football scenario again, yes, the MFA has been doing stuff, but I somewhere also feel that it's maybe it's not enough, right? Because again, it's also up to all of us who play whatever role that we play in it, to kind of build it and ground. And I
correct.
think the major problem is the ground facility and the ground
Yes,
availability in a city like
correct,
Bombay. As you can probably see, that every part of the city is now dug up. Uh, so that being the challenge, how can one maneuver around it? Because it is a city with a lot of potential. I mean, we even take the neighboring districts, for example, like
true,
a Thane or even Navi Mumbai for that matter. You have a lot of more boundaries to kind of grow and have more potential, and there should be more players from Mumbai coming out and playing, whether it's for Mumbai or the other teams. uh, where do you see that we are headed to, and do you see it's in a good time right now as compared to before? Because like I said, you've been there, seen
correct.
all of those through all these years. So where are we right now with regards to football in Mumbai?
See, I would say, I mean, to answer that question, we'll have to break it down into parts.
Yeah,
So
sure.
firstly, we'll have to understand that the culture has exponentially increased. The participation levels have increased, from what participation used to be in grassroots sports to even amateur leagues like the
Yeah,
senior men's and the senior women's teams. The number of players who participate has increased. The number of players who play the sport has increased tremendously, and that's because of the fact that, of course, a lot of football is now being shown on TV. We have multiple
yeah,
leagues, not just the ISL, the Premier League, the La Liga, so many other leagues that are being shown on TV. And the fact that there is that excitement level, and we are slowly inching towards a more culture which is more towards sport
yeah,
of, and especially football in this case. And
yeah,
also amateur leagues have also contributed a lot to this happening. So from a culture point of view, yes, it's been a tremendous growth. From a participation point of view, yes, absolutely. From an infrastructure point of view, we've had infrastructure. The problem is accessibility.
yeah.
We are not getting accessible grounds at an affordable cost. That's
Right.
another issue. So if we are able to somehow find ways in which we can get, maybe schools rent their ground at an
Yeah,
accessible cost, or, the problem is because all the schools or all the colleges or all, in all of these facilities are renting the ground for a multiple purpose.
yeah,
Maybe one of them is, probably for a marriage or for a
yeah,
function, and at the same time they're renting it out for football too. What they fail to realize is, playing football for an hour or a few hours won't give you the same amount of revenue as, for, renting out for a marriage or a function. Somewhere they equate both,
yeah,
and then they realize, oh, okay, I'm earning,
yeah,
X amount from
yeah,
this, and I should earn the same amount of money from renting it out for a football ground too. So somewhere I think what these facilities need to understand is, for the sport to grow, the ground has to be at an accessible cost, or at an affordable cost, and it also needs to have accessibility.
hmm,
So for example, parking space, or, changing rooms, all of these things are a mandatory thing for someone to play a sport like football. So many of them have grounds, but there is no parking space or there is no changing rooms, and then you can't really go out and play. It is not actually promoting the sport in the right way. So I feel, from an association perspective also, we've had some tough time with the fact that the Parel ground is not available,
yeah,
which was one of the key grounds
yeah,
for a lot of the matches that were held many years ago. Now that ground probably will be done by the next year, early next year. Once that ground is available, we have one more ground
yeah,
which can kind of take the load. Also, what one needs to understand is the fact that since participation has exponentially increased, there aren't enough grounds to kind of
accommodate all of
accommodate that
them. Yeah,
load. So once probably we'll have the Parel ground opened up and maybe one more ground, then I'm sure that the number of leagues will have a more smooth functioning, and
Right.
we will not have irregularity in the scheduling. Also, the scheduling will also become better. Yes, and one more thing I would like to tell also is about the fact that if you see at an MFA level, a lot of the things that are done are voluntarily done, even
Yeah.
right from the committee members to everyone. They're on a voluntary basis. They don't really get even paid an
Yeah.
honorarium for their work. So what happens is one realizes the fact that you need more people if it's voluntary based,
Right.
right? I mean, everyone's not accountable because for the fact that they're not getting paid.
Yeah.
So everyone's taking time out of whatever their schedule is and giving it out for the sport. So you may need more and more people if this is the same model that gets adopted for the next many years. Then we will need more and more people coming in and chipping in their time or probably chipping in their resources so that then it becomes more easier for work things to get done.
Hmm.
So that's one thing I think probably I'll request everyone if they have time to come to the association maybe on a weekend, or I mean association as in Neville D'Souza ground or the
Yeah.
Cupre's ground on a weekend or a weekday, and see how they can contribute to the sport growing. Maybe they can do refereeing, or maybe they can be part of the volunteering team, or maybe they can be part of the administrative team. Anything that they actually would want to contribute to. Again, for a fact that MFA doesn't really have uh, that you know corpus or use corpus to hire a lot of people,
Hmm.
but they are open to hiring. The number of personnel that they have hired in the last many years or we have hired has considerably increased,
Yeah.
but it's still not enough. I would say we need more people to come in and work, and also more people to come in and volunteer,
Right.
like how it's in Japan or many other countries as well, where people actually come in and volunteer.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have parents coming in and doing refereeing, which is
Hmm.
fantastic because that actually saves cost on the referees. Unfortunately, here it's not done. It
Hmm.
doesn't happen. So we need a referee, a linesman, another referee, a fourth referee, a physio. These are again all costs.
First, yeah.
But at the same time, how do we absorb these costs, ensuring that still the entry fee remains at a lower cost, it's affordable for all, is a challenge.
Hmm.
So every year we face that challenge, but we're trying to kind of resolve it over the next few years.
So I've heard this, like, I think many other state associations are run on an honorary thing, and there's nothing much coming that they are taking home, rather, and it's more of, yes, passion or whatever, that they are trying to do whatever is in their capacity. So how do you think, how can state associations get their investment? Where does that come? Does the government play a role, or does the private sector play a role? Where do you see that?
State associations technically, I mean, investment wise, it's not like they'll get investment from
Yeah.
somewhere. They have to create properties
Right.
which actually, or assets which actually help them.
Hmm.
So for example, if they're able to create a stadium of their own with stands, which we are doing at Neville right now, there are
Yeah.
stands that's getting created outside. If there is ticketing that comes in, maybe merchandise, maybe
Right.
we'll have to create some sort of digital assets as well.
Yeah.
Probably the website has to become more better. Tickers on the website, advertisement on the website, advertisement on all the playing jerseys. These are
Yeah.
some ideas that need to be implemented.
And is
Uh,
that being discussed?
It
Is
is
that
being
being?
discussed, yes, but then there are again the progress is slow,
Yeah.
to be honest. So it has this progress has to fasten up or hasten up, because that is the only way this will get implemented. It can get implemented in the next few years, but as I said, the progress is relatively slow,
Hmm.
which I feel with discussions and again and again putting those points will hasten up the process.
Right.
But the good thing is there is intent.
Hmm.
Even though the progress is slow, everyone in the committee is having that intent of actually developing. Only thing is they'll have to give more time towards it, and
Okay.
it requires a lot of going to a lot of companies, going to a lot of sponsors, talking to them, creating those sort of contacts, and then all of these things need to be done. This is not being done on a regular basis. This has to be done, and that is the way things can progress.
Uh, what is the next? Like, we are almost ending the year. I mean, just a couple of weeks away. And what is it for you personally? Because you also entered the field of, I mean, the managerial role for a club that's playing in volleyball league, right? Uh, they are defending champions and a prominent side. How are you kind of managing things across these different levels? And what is next for you in the coming year?
See, basically, firstly, it's actually my company that handles Ahmedabad Defenders, which is Sportco,
Right.
and we have a team that runs it. So, kind of, it helps me to kind of ensure that I'm able to manage the workload. For me, on a personal level, this year has been pretty much a very good learning. I got a chance to be the manager for the Mumbai team, then the Maharashtra team in football.
Yeah.
Followed it up with the Ahmedabad Defenders, which I was already since a few years. So, on a personal level, I felt this year I got to learn a lot of things under many coaches, their style of philosophy or their style of play and all of those things. Also,
Hmm.
something that I got to learn from them. Uh, Also, I personally feel that there are many things I could accomplish on a
Right.
personal level that I could do this year. Uh, on a professional front, in terms of say the YPL or something, I would probably want to do it even more better in the years to come.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's still a work in progress, so I'm not really very disheartened about it. But as I said, on a personal level, on a professional level, I'm pretty satisfied with this year. With the Mumbai team, especially, I would like to state this or quote this thing that happened is the fact that we've been doing YPL for the last 4 years, and that now we've kind of seen the fruits of doing the league, the
Hmm.
Yuva President League,
Yeah.
where we had our players in the under 15 category last year playing around 30 matches of 70 to 90 minutes each. And they were coming in with a lot of minutes under their belt. So when they played the district league, Mumbai won all their matches. They scored a whooping 25 goals and they conceded zero,
Mm-hmm.
which is incredible for
Yeah.
the under 15 team. I mean, a lot of the credit goes to even Samir, who was the coach for the team alongside
Yeah.
me from Mumbai City. But what I felt is that really showed the ability of our players at the top level. Even for example, when Maharashtra under 15, when we had gone to Odisha and Agi from
Yeah.
Thane City was the coach, along with Parag, what we realized is there as well. If you see, for example, the players whom we had a very considerably very young team because the district competition was for the 2009 and 10 born, and the National Football Championship or the NFC that happened was for 2008 and 2009 born.
Okay.
So it was basically a change in the birth, the age category later
Yeah.
on. But then we had a discussion and FIFA also suggested us that you go with a young team and let's see what happens. We won against Karnataka in the first game, and we narrowly missed out on qualification against Jharkhand. We lost 1-0. So we felt that in that too they got a penalty in the 44th minute. But we realized that our players actually have the potential, and because of the continuous game time now they're getting at the structure, it's changing.
Yeah.
And it's not a change that can happen in about a year, but it's a change that happening in the last 2-3 years.
Right.
I think this will only get better because the more matches these players play across the year, probably around 30 to 35 games cumulative in a calendar year, for sure they will improve, and that's already happening.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of the learnings I had, that things take time. It's not that even in football specifically, and everyone looks at quick results. Probably, okay, now we are doing this tournament. What is the result?
Yeah.
Now we realize, okay, YPL happened from 2018, 19, 20, 21 was a break. 21, 22 we started YPL again. 21, 22. Most of the other districts hadn't started their youth league.
Hmm.
So we had a, you could probably say a lead over
Yeah.
the other districts, and that actually resulted in a better showcase when we
Right.
played in the district competition. So that is something we kind of understood and realized, and it's going to only become better.
And as you mentioned, we're into a new year now. What's next for Siddharth? Also, what can we expect from CFCI?
So one of the things I'll answer CFCI first and then probably go to myself. And so at CFCI, we are playing the elite division this year. I mean, we're doing decently well. Probably we're looking at a top 5, top 6 kind of a finish. After that, maybe the next year we want to better it up. At a CFCI front, we would want to expand our academies, go to widen our horizon, go to more places. We've been working very closely with the Ratnagiri District Football Association in Konkan area, where we're trying to find more players from
Right.
probably rural areas too. We want to widen our horizon. We want to reach out to as many players as possible. Maybe a few more academies we want to build, and also we are looking actively at Gujarat as one of the other potential areas where we can find talent. So we may expand to Gujarat on a serious note, and that's what we would want to do on a CFCI front. On a personal level, of course, I would want to, as I say, probably strengthen the structure at the youth level even more,
Yeah.
especially the progression of players, or you know uh, identification of players from YPL to a senior team has to become more better.
Yeah.
So I would want probably the under 17 players who are playing YPL, they should at age 18 or 19 end up playing the elite division. It's very much required, because what is happening is, you I personally feel, and I know many may not agree with me on this probably, but I personally feel that after 25 or 26, playing the elite division is probably not with an ambition to make a career in the
Yeah.
sport. It's just to probably the fact that they enjoy the game and sustain.
Yeah.
I'm not against them playing, but I would personally want all the elite teams as much as possible to give youngsters around the age group 18, 19, 20, 21 a chance to play. We
Yeah.
really need to lessen the age that plays in the top tier,
Absolutely.
because we can't really have a player making his debut at the topmost tier in Mumbai football at age 24. It's too
Yeah.
late. He's missed the
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah.
So probably I would want it to come down somewhere as young as 17, 18.
Hmm.
I know it's little difficult, but it has to happen, because you see world across the world, you see players making a debut
Yeah.
right from the topmost talent, making debuts for clubs, at 17,
Yeah.
18, 16. And in India, one of my players in the school where I kind of coach sometimes, he asked me a very interesting question. He told me that, what, sir, I am 14 right now, and he played for Maharashtra.
Yeah.
And I was very intrigued by the question he asked me. He told me, I'm 14 right now, and why is it that I have to wait till 20 to play elite? Why can't I play it at 17 or
Yeah.
16? Why is it that I have to? Then why is it that he mentioned Phil Foden, for example, making a debut so early on in his age, and why can't I be a Phil Foden for India? Why do I need to wait till 18 or 19 to make a debut? And that has to fasten.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand if he's not part of an AIFF elite academy, or if he's not part of a development center or something, like, he has to still find a way to somehow force him into the scheme of things by 18, 19, so that India has a potential player at 2021, and then he gets at least 10 or 12 years of a footballing career that he can look forward to.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you see, even the average age for players making debuts 24, 25, then they may get an injury or something, and then they
Yeah.
don't really have enough years to play.
Yeah.
That's something that has to improve.
Yeah. No, I think it absolutely makes sense, and I think it's a very good note to end on. Yes, it's a question that we're ending on, but for those who are listening to this, I think the larger perspective of the Indian football audience, and I like to believe that there are more than just fans listening to the show. There are many kind of people, different kind of stakeholders. Uh, it's a very valid question for a young man, for a young boy to ask that why do I have to wait for so many years? And if he's good enough, if he's played the district, why? I think also having a robust scouting system is also a need of the hour,
Correct.
where everyone kinds of comes and sees, there's potential, there is talent, but there's also needs to be someone spotting those talent
Correct.
to tell the other guy. So hopefully, with all the developments that happened in the recent times, and with all your work and hard work, effort that you're putting in personally, uh, will bear fruit. I think it's a slow process. We really have to trust the process here,
True.
and make sure we're all doing what we can do in the meantime. But Siddharth, thank you so much. This was, I think, maybe like it can be read as a teaser or a trailer for the big movie kind of a thing. But I feel this was a very good, elaborative, brief, you can call whatever, a great episode to just even if you're touching the surface level, but to get an understanding of what CFCI doing, what you are doing, and how the Mumbai football is shaping up with different categories and different leagues. So thank you so much
Thank
again for
you.
taking time and doing this with me.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Had a fun time. Thanks.
Yeah. To all the lovely listeners, this was Siddharth Sabapathy. I hope you enjoyed the episode. So please do like and share. Yeah, it's not on YouTube, but you can like it. You can also add it to your library. Share with people, your friends, everyone who wants to know about Mumbai football. I think this is the episode that you should be sharing. We are available on all the audio leading platforms. So thank you once again. I think we have one more episode before we break for the year. So I will keep my wishes for the next episode. Thank you so much, Siddharth, once again, and thank you very much.